Hi everyone, welcome to another video from Prime Math Lovers. Today we are going to solve this complex equation and find all its possible roots. X to the power of 9 plus 1 over x to the power of 8 is equal to x plus 1. I'll start by multiplying both sides of the equation by x to the power of 8. So I multiply both sides of the equation by x to the power of 8 and I get x to the power of 17 plus 1 is equal to x to the power of 9 plus x to the power of 8. X to the power of 9 times x to the power of 8 will be x to the power of 17. 1 over x to the power of 8 times x to the power of 8 will be 1. X times x to the power of 8 will be x to the power of 9 and 1 times x to the power of 8 will be x to the power of 8. Then I'll move everything to the left hand side and after rearranging I'll get x to the power of 17 minus x to the power of 9 minus x to the power of 8 plus 1 is equal to 0. Between the first two terms, I'll factor out x to the power of 9. And between last two terms, I factor out the negative sign, resulting x to the power of 9 times x to the power of 8 minus 1 minus x to the power of 8 minus 1. So between these two, I factor out x to the power of 9, and between these two, I factor out negative sign. Then I can factor out x to the power of 8 minus 1 and I'll get x to the power of 8 minus 1 times x to the power of 9 minus 1 is equal to 0. These two factors are equal to 0. It means that we need to set each of them separately to 0. So we need to solve now these two equations. X to the power of 8 minus 1 equal to 0. And x to the power of 9 minus 1 to the power of is equal to 0. First, I'll solve x to the power of 8 minus 1 equal to 0. I'll rewrite it as I'll rewrite x to the power of 8 as x to the power of 4 to the power of 2 minus 1 to the power of 2 is equal to 0. Then I apply the difference of squares identity, which states a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b times a plus b. So x to the power of 4 to the power of 2 minus 1 to the power of 2. A is x to the power of 4 here and b is 1. So I can write it as x4 minus 1 times x to the power of 4 plus 1 is equal to 0. Again, I can apply this identity to the first factor and I will have x squared minus 1 times x squared plus 1 times x to the power of 4 plus 1. In this stage, I add plus 2x squared minus 2x squared to this factor. I'll show you why I'm doing this. Then I rearrange it and I'll get x squared minus 1 times x squared plus 1 times x to the power of 4 plus 2x squared plus 1 minus 2x squared is equal to 0. Now we know that a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And if I apply this to x squared plus 1 to the power of 2, I'll get x to the power of 4 plus 2x squared plus 1. These three terms exactly like these three terms in our third factor in our equation. So I can replace this with x squared plus 1 to the power of 2. So I'll get x squared minus 1 times x squared plus 1 times x squared plus 1 to the power of 2 minus 2x squared is equal to 0. Now I can apply the difference of squares identity to this factor. We have a to the power of 2 minus b to the power of 2. So I'll get a minus b times a plus b. A is x2 plus 1 and b is square root of 2x squared, which will be square root of 2 times x. So I'll get x squared plus 1 minus square root of 2 and x squared plus 1 plus 2x square root of 2 times x. And first two terms are the same. So x squared minus 1 times x squared plus 1. Now we need to solve this actually 4 second degree equation or 4 quadratic equation. We have 4 factors multiplied together equal to 0. I can set them separately equal to 0. So x squared minus 1 equal to 0 means x squared is equal to 1. And if I take square root of both sides, I'll get x is equal to plus or minus 1. Plus or minus 1 are the first two roots of our equation. x1 and x2 are plus or minus 1. X squared plus 1 is equal to 0. It means that x squared equal to negative 1, and we know that the square root of negative 1 is plus or minus I. So x will be equal to plus or minus I. And these are root 3 and 4. X 3 and 4 is equal to plus or minus I. Now we solve this equation. X squared plus 1 minus square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. I rearrange it and I get x squared minus square root of 2 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. We know that for quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, x will be equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. In our equation, a is 1, b is negative square root of 2, and c is 1. So x will be equal to minus root of 2 plus or minus root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 divided by 2 times 1. b is minus root of 2, a is 1, and c is 1 as well. So this means x is equal to square root of 2 plus minus times minus will be plus. So square root of 2 plus or minus square root of 2 minus 4 divided by 2. And 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And we know that square root of negative 2 will be square root of 2 times I divided by 2. So these are the next two answers. And the other equation is x squared plus square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Again, I use the quadratic formula or delta formula, and I get x is equal to minus square root of 2 plus or minus square root of 2 to the power of 2 minus 4 times 1 divided by 2 times 1, or minus square root of 2 plus or minus square root of 2 minus 4 divided by 2. 2 minus 4 again is negative 2. So I'll get minus square root of 2 plus or minus square root of minus 2 over 2. And square root of minus 2, square root of negative 2 will be square root of 2i. And we'll get minus square root of 2 plus or minus square root of 2 times I divided by 2. So 2 roots here. We have 4 more roots. Roots 5, 6, 7, and 8 is equal to plus or minus square root of 2 plus or minus square root of 2 times I divided by 2. Next step is solving x to the power of 9 minus 1 is equal to 0. In the first step, I'll write x to the power of 9 as x cubed to the power of 3. So I get x cubed to the power of 3 minus 1 cubed is equal to 0. Then I'll apply this algebra identity. A cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So in our equation, a is x cubed and b is 1. So will be x cubed minus 1 times x to the power of 6 plus x cubed plus 1 is equal to 0. Again, I apply this identity to this factor, to x cubed minus 1, and I'll get x minus 1 times x squared plus x plus 1 times x to the power of 6 plus x cubed plus 1 is equal to 0. I'll have three factors multiplied together equal to 0. I set each factor separately equal to 0. X minus 1 equal to 0 means x is equal to 1. So our ninth root is 1. X squared plus x plus 1 equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation. For solving it, as mentioned before, we use quadratic formula. Minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Here a is 1, b is 1, and c is 1. So x will be equal to minus 1 plus or minus square root of 1 minus 4 divided by 2. Or minus 1 plus or minus square root of minus 3 divided by 2. Minus 3, I can write minus 3 as minus 1 times 3, then it will be minus 1 plus or minus square root of 3 times square root of minus 1, and square root of minus 1 is I. So it will be minus 1 plus or minus square root of 3i divided by 2, which these are the cubic roots of unity, omega and omega squared. So x10 is omega, the 10th root is omega, and x11 is omega squared. Next step, I need to solve this equation. X to the power of 6 plus x to the power of 3 plus 1 is equal to 0. I'll use a substitute variable called t and set t is equal to x cubed, and I get t squared plus t plus 1 is equal to 0. Which is similar to the previous equation. And the answers are the cube roots of unity, omega and omega squared. So minus 1 plus or minus square root of 3 times I divided by 2 are the cube roots of unity, and we call it omega and omega squared. So t is equal to omega means x cubed is equal to omega. And that means that x is equal to the cube root of omega. And these are the three other roots of the equation. So x12, 13, and 14 are cube roots of omega. And also t is equal to omega squared. It means x cubed is equal to omega squared. And this means that x is equal to cube root of omega squared. And x 15, 16, and 17 are cube root of omega squared. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. Also, please subscribe to our channel and push the notification button to all to be informed when we publish new videos. Thank you so much for your support. I wish you a fantastic time wherever you are on this planet. Cheers.